Do you want the facts? Can you handle the facts? Are you over the beliefs? Are you tired of the lies? Have you uncovered what religion really is? Do you identify as an Alkebulan kidnapped? If so, then welcome to The Verdict, where we stand on facts over beliefs. Court is in session.
Court is in session. What it do, y'all? It's your brother, man, from the motherland, coming to you guys live from the NY, back with another one of that verdict show, Facts Over Beliefs. I am your host, Junns the NBIC, and of course, you know I represent that ROD. Want to give the praise and honor to the creators. Want to give praise and honor to the ancestors. Want to give praise and honor to all my YouTube followers, supporters, all you guys that's been needed, because it allows me to do what I do best. And you guys know what that is. So round of applause for that. Yes. And we going to have a phenomenal one. I started early today. It was going to be a little earlier, but had to restart my computer for some apparent reason. It was moving kind of slow, even when I was, uploading the software for the camera. It just had a severe lag, so I had to restart the computer, and then I had to also, put a little finishing touches to the documentary. Other than that, we're gonna have a phenomenal one today. We're going to talk about the Arabic slave trade. Our entire life, we have been told about the transatlantic slave trade, but nobody ever told us about the Arabic slave trade, especially, that we are so interactable when it comes to the Arabs, right? They in our space, we in their area. Salam alaikum. You got the black people praying at 12 o'clock on their knees. Whether you from Alkebulan or you just an Alkebulan kidnapped, you see a lot of brothers on their knees giving worship to the gods of the Arabs. But a lot of people don't know that this God, this religion, was also forced upon the people. So today I wanted to play you guys a documentary. Phenomenal. I'm not going to stay long-winded with it. We're going to dive right in. It's an hour plus long. I advise you guys to grab your popcorn. Information very needed. You understand? Hopefully, you guys get enough intel. Hopefully you guys get enough intel to start second guessing all these type of religions, because like I said on the verdict show, facts over beliefs, we're going to dive and look and grab nothing but the facts. So without further ado, we're going to watch this documentary, sit back, relax, and let us do what we do. And I definitely want to give a shout out to HiddenHistory. They are the ones that put this phenomenal documentary together. Shout out to them. They did a phenomenal job. So I don't want to make it seem like this is my work. I'm just here giving commentary on the documentary. Okay? Let us continue. Shout out to Hidden Histories. And this is not a movie, by the way. This is real life. Just a FYI. This is real life. Similar to the NFL combines, right? This is real life. Just want you to know that.
At last, we find what we have been searching for 6 months along the Persian Gulf. An open market in human beings. This one takes place in the courtyard of an old fort. 3 men and 3 women are on sale, all Africans. They appear resigned to their fate. Slaves come from black Africa. They can also be procured on the Arabian Peninsula. Sometimes all you have to do is organize a party.
Let me address this Arabian Peninsula. Okay, so back in the let's just call it 1300 BC, right? The 13th century. Let's just bring it as far back to that timestamp. These individuals were what you call Euro-Asians. Euro-Asians always wanted to be in our space, right? We wouldn't let them. We was only trading, etc., right? So what these people used to do, they used to purposely have children and leave those children in areas where African farmers, settlers, travelers, traders would pass through. And sometimes they would see a little innocent infant and they would take this child home. And, especially if it's a male, you take the child home, you raise them, and then you also raise them to do what you do, whether you trading, a farmer, a shipper, whatever. Their job is to literally follow your path. So in those times of following your path, a lot of times these people that left their children will be like, that's my son. Oh my gosh. Oh, no. See, this is how they was able to get into your space. So you fast forward to 1800s, 18th centuries, right? 19th century, you fast forward to that. It's a lot of mixed breeding takes place, right? Because you take one of these Euro-Asian children, you raise them as your own, you think that they are own, they learn your customs, they learn your culture, and then you give them your daughter, or you allow them to marry your brother's your brother's daughter, or this is family traditions. Like they was given to somebody within the family, and this is how they started getting darker in complexion. Okay? But the creators will always leave things behind to let the world know who's a pure blood, who's a mixed breed, and who's a counterfeit. Just want to throw that out there. So let us continue.
The kind the British have called slaving parties. We hear about such a party in Qatar. There's music, dancing, laughter, the kind of entertainment that doesn't take place.
You see, when you see them, you see the black, you can see the Arab in them, right? They look like they come from Sudan and those areas. This is who they was mingling with, the Sudanians. They was mixing with them. They was mixing with the Egyptians. That's why their claim to Africa is those areas. And for the people that keeps sending me this foolish Ethiopia Bible, I've answered that numerous of times. The man that wrote the Bible is not black. He was a Byzantine king. So please stop. Just do your homework. Please just do your homework before you engage yourself with somebody like me. Okay? Don't let the the ghetto speaking and don't give a damn on how you feel and get in the way. I do this like effortlessly, bro. You know what I'm saying? Books for days. But let us continue.
Every day in the desert. The girls come out of the shelter of their homes. They arrive from nearby villages. The canny organizers of the party have accomplished their purpose. They can study the girls at their leisure, decide which ones they will try to buy from their fathers or their husbands, which ones they will have to kidnap. Slavery, we are told, has been abolished. In point of fact, it still survives.
Never left, and it will remain forever as long as these people are in this position of power. And to be honest, even after, you know what I'm saying, these people lose their power, I think slavery will be, I don't think slavery will be in the magnitude of servitude and, you know, prisoners of war crimes or whatever. I think these things will, you know, forever be a human process for the remainder of time, if that makes sense. Let's continue.
In a small villa on the outskirts of an African city on the Red Sea, he gathers the children of his prostitutes in what is officially called an orphanage. Actually, it is a training school for slaves. For the first few months, the mothers can visit their children. Then, the Greek takes over. Rearing
The what? Did he just say the Greeks take over? Isn't the Greek what the New Testament isn't?
the children and training them until they are old enough to be of commercial interest to the traders of the Middle East. Prices vary according to age, color of skin, and the work the child is intended for. An attractive half-caste girl of 12 may be worth as much as $5,000.
And I want to just throw out the contradiction within the Biblos itself. $5,000. The word says, "And no man shall redeem you or buy you," but yet throughout the entire slavery, we was being bought, shipped, purchased, you name them. That was us. I just wanted to just throw that out there, just to kill another rebuttal. I mean, to kill another contradiction, to show you guys that things don't make sense. It doesn't add up. But let us continue.
We have been told that a mysterious but important personage is due to visit the Greek today. We wait, and he finally arrives, unaware of the telescopic lenses that are following his every move. He is a buyer come to examine the Greek's merchandise and to purchase the best of it.
Please like, comment, share, subscribe, people. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Share this with your friends and family. We're gonna talk about it. Yeah. We outside.
eventually land either in a harem or in a brothel. If they look happy at the prospect before them, it is because their training under the Greek has led them to expect a life of wealth and ease and love.
So don't expect them to have any level of prosperity. You're a slave. You're designed to be told what we tell you to do. Similar to what you see here in America. You're being told what to believe in. You're being told what to worship, how to worship, where to worship, the churches that you go to, the things that you say on YouTube. You're being told this. You have absolutely no power. You are a slave. You are property. It takes 6 of us to become one person. You understand? You are property. And even the word person stands for personnel. For what? A corporation. Let that sink in. Let us continue.
Several days later, we board a plane bound for Jeddah, a landing point for travelers to Mecca. We ask an officer on the plane the same question we had asked the captain of the ship. He simply hands us the passenger list. 20 persons on the flight are traveling together. Men, women, and children. 12 have round-trip tickets, and the other 8 one-way tickets. These 8 are in effect living traveler's checks that will be cashed in to pay the expenses of the return for the rest of the party.
They are women, servants, and children whom the 4 Arabs will sell as slaves. Their destiny as human travelers' checks has been decided years ago, and now they are carrying out that destiny.
Kuwait, with a population of scarcely 300,000, takes in close to $3 million a day in oil royalties. Not that these millions are allowed to trickle down, but to raise the standard of living of the people.
$3 million daily, and it's still not enough to generate what the African slave trade, which still goes on to this day, by the way, produces. But carry on.
Of the Fellahin or the Bedouins. Instead, oil has brought in its wake a new biblical curse. It has raised
a new biblical curse. I find this so ironic that, every time slavery, it doesn't even matter if you are the transatlantic or the Arabic slave trade, it always falls down to a biblical curse when it's pertaining to slavery and us. I can't make this stuff up. Let us continue.
Price of human flesh. Storage tanks and pipelines add a new and modern decorative touch to the vast emptiness of the desert. But they provide no sustenance for the people who live nearby, in hunger and misery and desperation. Water is precious, and the camel is precious. And to give the camel a rest now and then, water is drawn by slaves. These girls, 10 to 12 years old, are blindfolded to keep from getting dizzy as they take turns with the camel. The most modern equipment available is used to extract oil from thousands of feet below the surface of the earth. But water must be drawn by the effort of human slaves. For luckier children, there are model schools inside the palaces. The pupils pray before lessons begin. We are permitted to film the pupils as they come out of the royal school. More than 100, we are told, are children of the sovereign himself. Following them are the children of the princes and high dignitaries. They're clean, well-disciplined, happy children. But note that some of them do not carry books. These are children of the oil rich. Their books are carried by their personal slaves. Slaves receive
the oil rich, and they yo, listen, check this out. So when I hear stuff like this, all I could do is shake my head, right? So they don't carry their books. You got to carry their books for them. The oil rich. The same oil rich are literally the overseers of the Quran. Just like the over rich or the overseers of the Biblos. But now you're going to tell me that the thing that they oversee, written, handed to you directly by force, or now you're going to tell me that this is a story about us. Because they put American name locations in Alkebulan. And now this is the justification that this book is about us. When before the coming of Christ or anything, Alkebulan people never spoke English. So how did English languages, names end up in these areas? I'll let you tell it. Let us continue.
as gifts from their parents on their birthdays. Slaves who will
You was a birthday gift for the children on their birthdays. Children used to get slaves for their birthdays. The rich and the elite get slaves for their birthdays. Similar to what's going on right now with Bad Boy Records, but we'll leave that for another conversation. Let us continue.
grow up alongside their masters and serve as their personal gods. Most of these are children of palace slaves, and according to the law, they too are slaves. The oil millions turn into automobiles from Detroit, parking lots, and traffic cops who direct traffic straight toward the desert. We travel along the edge of the Sahara to reach the Peuls, a pastoral people once numerous and powerful, now reduced to a few thousand by mass raids of slave merchants early in this century. They no longer have any cattle of their own. The great herds they lead to pasture are owned by Arab merchants, and the Peuls are so impoverished that they willingly offer themselves in slavery to the owners of these herds. But since they cannot all be taken, the young shepherds show their masters which are the strong.
The young shepherds show their masters. Listen, I want you guys to listen to what's being said. The young shepherds. You are a shepherd. You are a sheep. Your shepherd is Muhammad, Jesus, whoever. You are a sheep. You are a cattle. You are goyim. This is why you refer to your children as kids, because you are cattle. But yet none of this is registering yet. Cool. Let us continue.
The most courageous among them by submitting to flagellation. The herd owners gaze impassively on the scene, enjoying vicariously the sadistic action before them, and knowing that the strongest will survive.
these are just examples of the high level of violation. Now, what you guys are seeing taking place is where the slave masters basically wanted to see how strong you are. And they go through a process of licking and lashes. And he that's able, I guess, to withstand the longest and show no crying and able to withstand the pain, I guess they get something in return. But these are the things that used to be done. But they always told us about the transatlantic slave trade, but they never told you about the Arabic slave trade and how the Arabic slave trade used to have black people go from the Middle East, go to Eurasia, and also into Europe in itself. See, they don't tell you all about these things, but my job is to tell you. Let us continue.
And the survivors smile and pretend to ignore the pain. They fall on their knees and beg their Arab masters to accept their services. West to east, across the heart of Africa to Arabia. This is the great highway of slavery. Across these desert trails, we took our cameras for thousands of miles in search of secret caravans. The governments of the young African republics are doing everything in their power to wipe out the slave trade. Every day, military units on camels check the border zones. They pursue the caravans and examine the documents of the desert buses. Any of these may be engaged in the slave trade. On the border of Chad and the Sudan lies Fada, the base from which the camel patrols set out. Helicopters keep watch along the border. And we have been permitted to accompany the police on one such inspection. Yesterday, pilots spotted several caravans heading toward the wells of Kairouan, the only wells within a radius of 200 miles. All caravans leaving Chad to enter the Sudan must stop there to take on water after checking in at Fada. One caravan that suspiciously avoided Fada has moved into the throat of Kairouan, a bottleneck deep in the mountains of Enedi. Water surging from the springs here cannot evaporate because the high mountain walls keep out the sun's rays. We reach our objective. There is no escape from the throat of Kairouan. It is a dead end. At first, this caravan looks like any other moving from place to place. Camels line up for a drink. Bedouins sit motionless, impassive. The police approach with their interpreter and get permission to search the merchandise.
I just find it ironic that it went from Arabs to all of a sudden Europeans with cowboy hats on. I just want you guys to understand that this is one big family. One big family, one big organization, one big community, one big bloodline, and these people's main objective is to do what? Is to capitalize off the weak, which is you. And then, you know, they started off saying not all slaves came from Africa, but all we've been seeing for the last 15 minutes now has been nothing but Africans. Just wanted to just throw that out there as well.
The interpreter notices an odd-shaped bundle with a canvas cover.
Alkebulan children, by the way. Children, what was that, 7, 8, maybe 9? Children. I just wanted to just throw that out there.
Where were they taking these children? What market were they headed for? The slave dealers won't talk. The children don't know. So the police are unable to find out. And they lose a possible chance of closing off one more market in human beings. A government official gives us an interview on the subject of slavery. I can assure you, he says, that slavery does not exist in my country. The first official act of my government when it came into power was to draw up stringent laws against slavery. But our country is large, very large. Look at the extent of our borders. Our army and our police do everything in their power to patrol them. But it does happen that the law is violated on occasion. Can you tell me of a single country in the world in which the law is never violated? But here the law may be violated too often.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Mit Gebet.
Hey, Allah Akbar! Make sure you get your prayers in before you get slaughtered and shipped to various locations. I find that ironic, but I just wanted to just throw that out there. It was just urgent for me to come out. Make the gavel on these heathens. Make the gavel. Bang the gavel. Bang the gavel. All you heathens.
Hat man sie gelockt. Die Araber bringen bereits im 7. Jahrhundert den Islam nach Afrika und mit ihm die Sklaverei. Denn wer kein Moslem werden will, wird als Sklave in die muslimische Welt.
Whosoever refused to become Muslims was deported as a slave to the Muslim world. Let's run that back. Whosoever refused to become Muslim was deported as a slave to the Muslim world. Let me say that one more time. Whoever refused to become Muslim was deported as a slave to the Muslim world. Yeah, let that sink in, people.
Verschleppt. 17 Millionen Schwarzafrikaner.
17 million black Africans suffered this faith. This faith or this fate. I find it crazy that these things literally are the same thing, but just worded different and interpreted for different meanings. But it's the same thing, people. Let us continue.
Trifft dieses Schicksal. Die Geschichte dieses Menschenhandels ist in Afrika bis heute ein Tabu. Tidiane Ndiaye bricht das Schweigen. Der senegalesische Anthropologe fordert, die Sklaverei der Moslems endlich aufzuarbeiten. In In seinem Buch »Der verschleierte Völkermord« beschreibt N'Diaye dieses wenig erforschte Kapitel der Geschichte.
I'm gonna give you guys 10 seconds so you guys can see in the book. Okay? Get the book. It's right here. It's an Alkebulan kidnap. This is who you get your history from. Stop looking for the enemy to find self. Start finding self within self. Okay? Even if you have to move stealth, just make sure you go find self. Let us continue.
Der muslimische Sklavenhandel war der längste in der Geschichte der Menschheit. Er währte 13 Jahrhunderte und hatte
It lasted more than 13 centuries and had many more victims. Listen.
viel mehr Opfer als der Sklavenhandel nach Amerika, der 400 Jahre
400 years to 13 centuries. Damn. And we over here beefing with the Europeans, right? The white man this, but then go into their place and say, Allah, Allah, Allah.
dauerte. Und das Traurigste daran ist, dass die meisten der Verschleppten unglücklicherweise keine Kinder bekommen konnten, weil sie kastriert wurden.
In die arabische Welt, in die Türkei, nach Persien und nach Indien werden die Schwarzafrikaner verschifft. Oder sie werden durch die Sahara nach Nordafrika getrieben. Viele sterben schon bei den Überfällen auf die Dörfer, viele an den Strapazen des Transports. Wer auf den Sklavenmärkten ankommt, wird kastriert. Laut N'Diaye überlebt nur einer von 5 diese gefährliche Operation. Die grausame Prozedur trifft alle, die Männer, die auf Plantagen oder im Bergbau schuften, ebenso wie die, die im Haushalt arbeiten oder die Harems bewachen. Diese Eunuchen findet man noch Anfang des 20. Jahrhunderts.
Die Araber und die Nordafrikaner waren Rassisten. Sie verachteten die Schwarzen. Deshalb wollten sie nicht, dass sie in ihren Ländern Kinder zeugten. Das erklärt, warum es dort heute keine starke schwarze Diaspora gibt wie in den USA, die eine Aufarbeitung dieser Geschichte fordert und eine Wiedergutmachung.
An die Sklaverei der Europäer wird auf der senegalesischen Insel Gorée erinnert. Hier wurden Tausende eingepfercht und nach Amerika verschifft. Solche Erinnerungsorte forderten N'Diaye auch für den brutalen Menschenhandel der Moslems. Der ist für ihn ein Völkermord, denn ein Volk von Kastrierten kann keine Nachkommen zeugen und stirbt zwangsläufig aus. Die Versklavung geschah übrigens im Namen Allahs.
And furthermore, this enslavement happened in the name of Allah. What does the other Abrahamic religion tells you? That you was enslaved in the name of the Lord. Because of your disobedience, you was put into a ship, into servitude, and then violated. And even through all this violation, they told you, but don't worry. Be happy. They told you, don't worry, be happy. Jesus soon come. Allah's telling you that Allah's punishment and judgment on the earth soon come. You're getting the same story. You're getting the same coin from 2 different perspectives. And the only one objective is to control the Alkebulan kidnaps. Let's do this. Come on, guys.
Der Koran hat die Sklaverei niemals unterbunden. Im Gegenteil, es gibt viele Stellen im Koran, die die Versklavung von Nichtmuslimen empfehlen. Und
they encourage the enslavement of non-Muslims. So if I was to go to Middle East right now and they said, do you worship Allah? I said, this nigga is Allah. There's 9 out of 10 times I probably would have died or they would have kept me inside, refusing me to have any civil life because I did not accept a lie in my life. But
Im Gegensatz zur Ächtung der Sklaverei im Europa der Aufklärung gab es nie auch nur einen arabischen Intellektuellen, der sich je für die Sache der Schwarzen eingesetzt hat.
Im Sudan rufen die Araber schon im 7. Jahrhundert den Dschihad, den heiligen Krieg gegen die Schwarzen.
So, I told you guys, jihad is what they did to the Alkebulan kidnaps. The crusade is what they did to the Alkebulan kidnap. What do both of them have in common? The crusades and the jihad is brutal enforcement of this, or should I say, their religion. But they're going to tell you that this story is about us, though. They're going to tell you, they're going to do all of this. They're going to find some good out of it and say, don't worry. The Father will save you through it all.
Aus. Noch heute werden hier Tausende von ihren eigenen Landsleuten versklavt. Viele Afrikaner beten in Moscheen, obwohl ihre Vorfahren im Namen des Islam.
We're praying in their synagogues. We're praying in their church. We're praying in their mosque. We're praying in every establishment, literally built from the ground up by them for one sole purpose. Keep these niggas inside here. Let us continue.
Geknechtet wurden. Über Jahrhunderte wurden.
And while we doing all of this, we still remain at the bottom. All this prayer, all this investment to these gods that was given unto us by the oppressors, all of these gods, and yet we still at the bottom. But I'll let you tell it. Let's continue.
Afrikanische Könige gezwungen, sich dem Islam zu unterwerfen und noch dazu Sklaven als Schutzgeld auszuliefern.
Durch die Islamisierung wurden die afrikanischen Könige zu Mittätern. Wer sich dem Islam unterwarf, konnte der Versklavung theoretisch entgehen. Wer kein Moslem werden wollte, sollte gezielt gejagt werden. Das war der Grund für die Kollaboration und das entfachte viele Kriege zwischen den afrikanischen Völkern.
Die Europäer schauen bis ins frühe 20. Jahrhundert zu. Obwohl sie den Menschenhandel längst verboten haben, dulden ihn die Kolonialarmeen vor Ort. Ein Zentrum des schmutzigen Geschäfts ist die ostafrikanische Insel Sansibar. Hier landen die Menschen nach dem Verbot der Sklaverei in unterirdischen Verliesen. Den berüchtigten Tipu-Tip macht der Menschenhandel zum zweitreichsten Mann Sansibars. Noch nach 1920 schuften Sklaven auf den Plantagen der Insel. 13 Jahrhunderte Sklaverei aufarbeiten. Dafür gibt es offenbar weder in Afrika noch in der islamischen Welt Bereitschaft.
Es gibt eine Solidarität zwischen den Afrikanern und den Arabern wegen der gemeinsamen Religion, dem Islam. Man zieht es vor, über diese schmerzhafte Geschichte nicht zu sprechen. Man richtet die Aufmerksamkeit lieber auf die Schuldigen, die alle schon kennen, die Europäer und die Amerikaner.
Tidiane Ndiaye will das nicht hinnehmen. Weder als Intellektueller noch als Enkel eines senegalesischen Königs. Und auch nicht als Moslem.
Christian boys kidnapped from the villages are confined to an Islamic school where they are made to study the Arabic language and memorize the entire Quran. Rising for prayers before dawn and studying until the late hours of the night, they are indoctrinated into the strict teachings of the Islamic faith.
And you're telling us that this is the way that we as Alkebulans have to go. The strict teachings. Oh, man.
Those who refuse to cooperate are beaten and chained until they improve their studies.
Beaten in chains until they are proving their studies. This is the religion of the world. These are the religions of the world that govern over the Alkebulan kidnaps. And you're telling me that the creators have an association or a connection to this story? Yeah.
Let's give up playing. Playing is harmful.
He said praying is harmful. That's what he just said, not me. That's just him saying this. Praying is harmful. Let us continue.
It doesn't allow them time to study. Anyone who misbehaves, he's whipped so that he doesn't play anymore. When his colleagues see him being whipped, he will stop playing and become afraid.
Oh, sorry. He said playing. I thought he said praying. My bad. So you're not even allowed to be a child. The only thing you're supposed to do is give yourself up to Allah. Make it make sense. Let's go.
The Quran is difficult. If they do not work hard, they will not be able to memorize it all.
A lot of the footage that we have received from these nations, some in Sudan, show young boys being beaten, show them chained, walking down these dusty paths around the school compound with chains. In one school, they have to write on a small board that they carry with them Quranic verses and then wash this board and drink the water. And their teachers tell them that drinking this water causes them or helps them to memorize this faster.
All Alkebulan people, guys. All of this is happening to your people. But, matter of fact, I'm going to let this play. I'm gonna let this play. While this is playing, I'm going to go look something up for you.
Young girls have also been kidnapped and sold as concubines or given over to the sexual pleasures of the Islamic soldiers.
Oh, and that still goes on to this very day, actually. Oh, and they got a new way of pitching it now. You know, they wire money to you black girls in America to come fly over to Dubai so they can take a shit on your face. Like, literally. Like, for real. This is not me saying, this is exactly what they're doing. And you dumbass females are going to walk around here saying, I made a quick $50,000 by letting somebody doodle on my face. Oh, yeah. Nasty. You need I can't even say you need to repent. You need a bullet wound.
Girls as young as 9 have been repeatedly.
As young as 9. Oh, listen, it's only getting started. It's only getting started. It's only getting started.
Violated. Tens of thousands of children have disappeared, hidden away by radical Muslims seeking to create a new generation void of any Christian faith. Christian men who refuse to submit to the Islamic movement have been imprisoned, beaten, and oftentimes mutilated. Others have been hung, nailed to trees, or drowned in the River Nile.
Damn, all of that just to convert to Islam? I thought Islam was the ultimate God, the ultimate religion, the one true religion of this world. But nobody talks about this. Don't worry, we're going to talk about it.
I must admit that I too, among hundreds of millions of educated people, was under the impression that the African slave trade was the sole responsibility of the Christian Europeans, the white race. That is, until I started exploring the subject in greater depth, and especially after reading an incredibly enlightening book called The Legacy of Arab Islam in Africa by John Alambila Azuma. My whole perspective and understanding has changed dramatically, and I would like you to tell us more about this subject.
The success of Muhammadan Islam in deceiving, misinforming, deforming, and contorting both history and reality over a period of almost 1400 years has been astounding. That is, until now. The greatest tragedy about this particular subject is that most of the descendants of African slavery, the black people in the Americas, around the world, as well as among the African blacks, are totally ignorant of the actual facts. Before we lose the concentration of our listeners, I would like to make the following statement and then prove it. That the worst, most inhumane and most diabolical institution of the black African slave trade was initiated, refined, perpetrated, and implemented by the Mohammedan Arabs and later aided and abetted by the black converts to Mohammedan Islam. I predict that, as usual, the two subcultures, those of denial of facts and of political correctness, will attack us without once disproving a single statement and or conclusion that we make. Slavery was not created by the white races, because it has existed throughout a human history and practiced by every tribe, culture, civilization, racial group, and religion. In fact, the very word slavery has its root in the name Slav, based upon the Slavic peoples of Europe who were subjugated by other Europeans. It is not common knowledge that the Arabic word abd is synonymous with the meaning of slave. For example, Abdullah means literally the slave of Allah, and that in the language of the Arabs, all black peoples are called abid, plural, for slaves. While much has been written...
Did you hear that? No matter what, no matter what's the color of your skin, no matter what it is, if you're black, no matter if you're from America, no matter if you're from Europe, no matter if you're from China, Alkebulan itself, the name that they have for you in Arab only means slave. I want you guys to hear all of this. Only means slave. Let's go.
Concerning the transatlantic slave trade, surprisingly little attention has been paid to the Islamic slave trade across the Sahara, the Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean. While the European involvement in the African transatlantic slave trade to the Americas lasted for just over 3 centuries, the Arab involvement in the African slave trade has lasted 14 centuries, and in some parts of the Mohammedan world is still continuing to this day. The birth of Mohammedan Islam and its conquests brought about the birth of institutionalized, systematized, and religiously sanctioned slave trade on a...
And again, the Quran only followed the blueprint of Christianity and Judaism. And all these institutions, all these Abrahamic religions have one thing in common, and that is the enslavement of Alkebulan people, and also to provide you documentations to the justification into your enslavement. But let us continue.
Massive and global scale. In fact, the Quran allows the taking of slaves as booty or reward for wars of aggression against any and all unbelievers, most of the human population. This has led to an enormous number of so-called holy wars, jihad in Arabic. There was and is absolutely nothing holy about these wars, which are primarily to plunder, slaughter, rape, subjugate, and rob other human beings of their wealth, produce.
Basically, against the Alkebulans. Jihad is force Islam on black people. The crusade is forced Christianity on black people. I don't want to hear I don't want to hear nothing about the converting Europeans into Christianity and all. They all practice the same thing to this day. The crusades was when they was invading lands and trying to conquer it by telling people that their God is the only God. And when you reject their God, they'll tell you that their God ordained them to behead you because you are a disbeliever. So when I hear you say, oh, the Creator's the Father, I'm gonna hold my peace.
Freedom and dignity. Mohammedan Muslim states and tribes attacked other non-Muslim groups to achieve these objectives. Although Islamic jurisprudence laid down regulations for the treatment of slaves, however, incredible and heinous abuses have occurred throughout the history of Mohammedan Islam. By the Middle Ages, the Arabic word abd was in general used to denote a black slave, while the word mamluk referred to a white slave. Ibn Khaldun, 1332 to 1406, the preeminent Islamic medieval historian and social thinker, wrote, "The Negro nations are, as a rule, submissive to slavery, because they have attributes that are quite similar to dumb animals. It should also be noted that black slaves were castrated based on the assumption that the blacks had an ungovernable sexual appetite. When the Fatimid Caliphate came to power in Egypt, they slaughtered all the tens of thousands of black military slaves and raised an entirely new slave army. Some of these slaves were conscripted into the army at age 10. From Persia to Egypt to Morocco, slave armies from 30,000 to up to 250,000 became commonplace. The Islamic slave trade took place across the Sahara Desert, from the coast of the Red Sea, and from East Africa across the Indian Ocean. The Trans-Sahara trade was conducted along 6 major slave routes. Just in the 19th century, for which we have more accurate records, 1.2 million slaves were brought across the Sahara into the Middle East, as well as a further 450,000 down the Red Sea and 442,000 from the East African coastal ports. That is a total of 2 million black slaves just in the 1800s. At least 8 million more were calculated to.
And that is in the 1800s. And remember what the brother said, this been going on for 13 centuries. And in the 1800s, it was 2 million. Can you imagine how much it was prior to that? And how much it is right now as we speak? Because you know millions of children, black children, go missing every single day. I just want you guys to hear that. Let's go.
Have died before reaching the Muslim slave markets. A comparison of the Islamic slave trade to the American slave trade reveals some extremely interesting contrasts. While 2 out of every 3 slaves shipped across the Atlantic were men, the proportions were reversed in the Islamic slave trade. 2 women for every man were enslaved by the Muslims. While the mortality rate of slaves being transported across the Atlantic was as high as 10%, the percentage of slaves dying in transit in the Trans-Sahara and East African slave market was a staggering 80 to 90%. While almost all the slaves shipped across the Atlantic were for agricultural work, most of the slaves destined for the Muslim Middle East were for sexual exploitation as concubines, in harems, and for military service. While many children were born to the slaves in the Americas, the millions of their descendants are citizens in Brazil and the United States today. Very few descendants of the slaves that ended up in the Middle East survive. While most slaves who went to the Americas could marry and have families, most of the male slaves destined for the Middle East were castrated, and most of the children born to the women were killed at birth. It is estimated that possibly as many as 11 million Africans were transported across the Atlantic, 95% of which went to South and Central America, mainly to Portuguese, Spanish, and French possessions. Only 5% of the slaves ended up in what we call the United States today. However, a minimum of 28 million Africans were enslaved in the Muslim Middle East. Since at least 80% of those captured by Muslim slave traders were calculated to have died before reaching the slave markets, it is believed that the death toll from 1400 years of Arab and Muslim slave raids into Africa could have been as high as 112 millions. When added to the number of those sold in the slave markets, the total number of African victims of the trans-Saharan and East African slave trade could be significantly higher than 140 million people. What is obscene about this whole subject is the Muhammadan, Muslim, and Arab culture of denial regarding their complicity in the African slave trade, as well as the ignorance of black Muslims about the reality of their past and present conditions. The statistics and reports above are based upon the logbooks kept at the African slave ports, ship logs, travelers' reports, eyewitness accounts, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, the facts and reality of Muhammadan Islam's complicity in the slave trade and their inhuman depravity are infinitely more devastating, more staggering, and more incomprehensible than all the nightmare fictions in the world.
Just a brief history, huh? What you guys feel about this information that was just mentioned? Thousands, millions, and this is the 1800s. Can you imagine the 19? Can you imagine the 13, the 14, the 15? And it's just so horrific, and it's just so sad that these people never speak on such things, but yet will come to you, look you in your face, and says, Allah loves you. Nigga, please.
In Chad, a young woman is sold into marriage by her father for 100 salted loaves. The United Nations Convention on Slavery lists such a sale without the woman's consent as an act of slavery. In the Volta Republic, 4 women may be worth a horse with harness. But they must be young, beautiful, and well-dressed. This little girl is worth exactly 70 empty bottles. Even if she could read the United Nations Convention, it would hardly be of any help to her. Nor would its provisions against mutilating, branding, or otherwise marking a slave help this woman, dressed in rags, who totters along with her ankles in chains among the crowds in a large city. This is Porto Novo, capital of Dahomey. We are going to a fishing village on the lagoon of Cotonou in Dahomey. This lagoon has a lovely fairy tale look, and its inhabitants contribute to the fairy tale quality as they gracefully toss their fishing nets onto the waters. But there is nothing of the fairy tale about the harsh struggle for existence of the people of this village, who live exclusively on the fish they are able to catch in the waters that surround their stilt-propped homes. The village is famous in this region for the beauty of its girls. But the lagoon provides only a meager living at best, and many of the male children urge their parents to get rid of the females, the least useful members of the community for work and fishing. Whenever one of the girls disappears, they say that the crocodiles have kidnapped her. The fishermen believe that these crocodiles are the incarnation of their ancestors, and they are therefore held to be sacred. The children look upon them as close relatives.
Yes, there's crocodiles in Alkebulan. There's all the animals is in Alkebulan, by the way. Actually, should I say.
A girl has disappeared. Her father makes a fine show of lamenting and weeping. But if ever the expression has had a true meaning, these are crocodile tears. Actually, the girl has not been a victim of the crocodiles. Her father has simply sold her to a slave dealer.
Now, remember earlier I was telling you how they used to interact with us? These are one of the things. You know what I'm saying? These are what I'm telling you. We was trading, then it went from trading goods to trading humans, right? Oh, you got this? I'll give you my wife for that. And this is how the intermingling started happening outside of the planting of their children in those type of areas where we will see them. And because of the people that we are, right, We will raise these children like our own, especially if it's a boy. Like I told you, see what you're hearing everything that I'm telling you. You're hearing these people regurgitate it and say the same thing. You know what I'm saying? If it's a boy, you know, they tend to train them to take the air and continue the way of living for the family. You understand? But let us continue.
Where do these girls end up? Sometimes they are bought by men from nearby villages and become part of the material wealth of the new tribes. But more often, they are spirited away to the Arabian Peninsula to become concubines in the harems of the desert princes. 2 cameras are hidden at a safe distance. A microphone is buried out of sight. Above all, we bring money. We don't have to wait long. The dealer shows up with 2 women we have told him we want to buy.
How do you do?
So smile, that's too much.
How do you do?
Fine. What is the name of this one?
This is Margaret, and this is Mary. 300 pounds, 300 pounds. Have you seen? Fine.
The experiment has succeeded. We set our slaves free, seek a new master, if they are to survive. You don't have to hide yourself in a forest to buy a slave. You can buy one on the outskirts of a large city as well. This is an African city at night. One gigantic flophouse. A huge bed of misery and desperation. We have been told of a house that sells its merchandise to the biggest traders in Eastern Africa. Our informant leads us there through narrow streets and back alleys. Then we watch a girl being bargained for by a rich merchant passing through town. This is indeed a trap, but hardly a tourist trap. We are in the neighborhood of the oasis of Ahila, on the edge of an airfield abandoned after the war. An old plane lands, and simultaneously a truck emerges from the darkness. plane takes off at dawn. Do the pilots know what cargo they are flying and where these children end up? We find our answer. Great opportunity for the slave traders lies in the pilgrimage to Mecca. Mecca is the heart of Islam, and Islam is the third religion in the world.
If Islam is the third religion in the world, then what's the first two? Could it be Christianity and Judaism? Hold on, hold on. June's gonna bang the gavel on your ass. And I ain't playing because you heathens' ass is no lie. And I see it, and no, I'm not gonna lie.
Show me one single Muslim country where slavery is not practiced, Prince Faisal of Saudi Arabia once said to a journalist.
That's a good question. Show me one Christian country that did not have slavery. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Shall we?
We are sorry to have to drag the United Nations into it again, but there is something we must add. We have the evidence of this British officer, Lieutenant Marlon Steele of the 37th Military Police District of Maridi. On the morning of May the 6th, 1963, 5 Kivu slave traders were arrested. They are guilty of having used these instruments of torture on 15 Bakudo children so as to reduce them to such a pitiful physical condition as to arouse the generosity of the passers-by.
Just look at your people. Just look at your fellow comrades. Just look at your relatives, your cousins, your aunties, your uncles. This is them. This is them. All in the name of Allah, Yahweh, Yahoo, Cuckoo, Doo, Poo, Poo. And you want to associate this Abrahamic religion with the creators of the Alkebulan people? Please, miss me with the bullshit. Come on now, miss me. And the God of the Biblos in the Quran would allow such things like this to continue to happen? Yeah, let us continue. Let me show my face. So again, you have to provide information to show where does the foundation of the Father come from. You have to know the origin of the term father come from. Okay, this is not an attack, because I want you guys to learn history. Learn your history. Where did that come from? Can anybody show me the word father being mentioned as Lord, God, Father in the Old Testament? Can anybody show me that? If you can show me that, and then the next question is, if it's not in the Old Testament, then why is it in the New? Then why is it in the New? See, the sister says we need to stop worshiping the false gods. How can you stop worshiping the false gods when the false gods is literally in our face every day? The false gods is what's spoken of in the Quran. The false gods is what's spoken of in the Biblos. We cannot try to associate the creators of the universe, the Alkebulan people, with a doctrine and a story that was put together by Europeans. Okay? Because I don't know how into this live you have been in, but if you was to watch it prior, run the tape back, you're going to see that these was enforced doctrines upon the people. None of us knew these religions. This Abrahamic, the Biblos is a reference to the Abrahamic religion and customs. We do not have absolutely nothing to do with that. Okay? Don't let the people mislead you, my sister. Don't let the people mislead you, my sister. Okay? I know you're just so adamant in finding who you are. I just want you to just follow these concepts. This is the blueprint to finding who you are. You must say, hey, how can you prove X, Y, and Z? And if the response is, well, they stole it from our book, they took it from our books, our writings, the next question after that is, can you provide me with these books? Have you seen it with your own two eyes? Have you went to the library? Had you went to the museum? Have you gone anywhere to gather such information? And if that person tells you no, by default, you are disqualified. So again, my sister, ask yourself, where does the foundation, the term father, come from? If it was not mentioned in the old, how come Adam, God created him, never referred to him as father? So where does that come from? When you find out where it comes from the Orsinian family, Orsini family, okay? That's the Pope in them. That's the father that's written of in the New Testament. Just like Jesus is Caesar Borgia. You can get all these biblical, historical people to feed you everything. But one thing for certain, two things for sure. Can a single person identify absolutely no locations, burials, where they was murdered, etc. for any character within the Biblos? Not one character can be justified nor found. We got to deconstruct, people. Let us continue. These are the same people that's giving you religion, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
We are sorry and ashamed to have to insist on showing this terrible document. This young British officer who is collecting evidence is sorry and ashamed too, but it is his duty. Just as it is our duty and that of the whole civilized world, or the world that calls itself civilized and feels smugly at peace with its conscience and with God, to consider this an accusation, to stop this cruelty.
And what cruelty was that, you may ask? The acceptance of their religion, their doctrines, which is the Biblos, which is the Quran. I tell you guys this over and over again. We have absolutely nothing to do with that book. Both of them, all of them. We have absolutely nothing to do with it. Don't let these people brainwash you into believing into a belief and not standing on facts. We as Alkebulan kidnaps, we need to stand on a foundation. And on this platform and on this podcast, our foundation is solely the facts. From the facts leads to everything else. If it's not standing on facts, if you tell me something and you don't provide the factual information behind it by default, according to the universe, according to the Alkebulans, according to the ancestors, and for all the Alkebulan kidnaps on the face of this earth, if you provide the information and it doesn't have any foundation or validity behind it by default, this information is void. I repeat, it is void. And something is void, then that's something we must avoid. You heard? Let us continue. And just think about this. I really want you guys to just ponder this through. Ponder this. Let's just meditate on this. If we as Alkebulan people knew about the laws, keeping the laws, keeping the holy days and the feast days and all of the nonsense that comes with the Biblos, right? Let's just imagine. It would have been a whole lot easier for brothers and sisters to convert if that was the case. Then it really wouldn't be no need for no mercenaries, wouldn't be no need for no crusades, wouldn't be no need for none of that. But the fact that these things occurred, is the reason why you need to now have a question mark saying, this kind of doesn't make sense. The entire region is in exile. Brothers and sisters fleeing. They fled Jerusalem and went into various locations. And in these various locations, the people that fled, that followed and knew that the prophecies of the Savior, the things that he said will come to pass, they fled because they listened to his word. How the heck did the oppressors still come and put them in servitude? How? Ask yourself this question. Let that marinate and we're going to come right back to it.
A poor neighborhood of Mauritania's capital, Nouakchott. Habi and her son don't have much, but even so, it's a lot more than they used to have when Habi was a slave to an Arab family. 2 years ago, an organization campaigning against slavery rescued her from her former masters.
In the beginning, it was very difficult for me. It was very difficult to leave my masters because I thought there weren't any other options. I just couldn't imagine I'd be able to live without them.
Biram Ould Abaid works for the NGO in question, SOS Slaves. He says it's freed more than 50 slaves over the past 2 years, but that there are thousands more still out there. The slaves are mainly from the ethnic community known as the Harassin.
And it's not thousands, people. It's millions. This is how they try to water down their evil. Oh, it's thousands of people. No, it's millions. No, how about it's billions? Just because you have not been enslaved physically, but you are in spiritual shackles. So You get how much black people getting on their knees praying to Allah. You get how many black people getting on their knees praying to Jesus. You get how many black people praying to the God of the Hebrews. You get how many people trying to associate the God of the Bantus as the God of the Jews. You got to make that make sense, man. We don't know these things. Never knew it. The commandments came into South Africa in 1904, 1905, 1906. This is around the same time that the Alkebulans is getting their freedom from France. Okay, this is literally. No, I'm lying. This is 1805. I'm lying. I take that back. I was overthinking. 1892 or 96 to 1905 is when Albert Christian came into South Africa to bring forth the commandments to the South African people. Now, the South African people cannot remember the name of the creators. And then remember the name, but forget the requirements of that God. Unless the God that we call on, and the creators that we call on, maybe they don't have no connections to do with the Bible. Because you can't tell me we could remember Sunini Nanini, but then don't remember the laws of Sunini Nanini pertaining to the Biblos. You got to make that make sense. You got to make that make sense. That's askenaz. That's lies. So we know, so we can go trace the name of our creators. People in Alkebulan can trace their customs back thousands of years. But the people that know of Sunini Nanini don't know about the commandments. Albert Christian, look him up. Albert Christian, the man that brought the commandments and the Hebrew madness to South Africans. That's him. And around that same time, the year later, 1905, 1906, was when the city Mambri was created by a group of missionaries that came from where? Germany. I can't make this stuff up. Let us continue.
A group oppressed for 800 years in the region, so long that slaves too often simply accept their fate as an inferior caste.
When you talk about slaves in Mauritania, you're talking about people who were born slaves. That means who work with no salary, who have no rights with their children, no right to education, and if it's a woman, she must sleep with her masters at their will.
That sounds like America to me. This is all under Islamic rulership. This is all under Islamic rulership, guys.
Saud Ould Bouker is ethnically a Haratine. He's a candidate for the presidential election and has risen to be president of the National Assembly, a first for his community. He's frustrated about the lack of progress.
Just because I'm president of the National Assembly doesn't mean that the problems of my community are therefore resolved, or that there's even been any evolution. On the contrary, we're doing everything for the concrete cases of slavery which are on the way. People can't accept the fact that the government is treating these cases as slavery.
Slavery was officially outlawed in Mauritania in 1981, but it's only
1981. So that means this is literally just 47 years old? 46 years old? 46 years old when this was outlawed. Jim Crow and all of these things is only 53 years old, 50-something, 60-something years old. And keeping the commandments at Alkebulan is only 143 years old. But, you know, this is who we are. They stole it from us. Tell these people that's telling you that to prove the documentations. Show the documentations. Don't give me maps. We don't want the maps. Because, again, since when Alkebulan people who spoke Alkebulan, Isikosa, and all the other languages from that land, how the heck did the maps have English writings on it? Locations, Amorite. That's not Alkebulan. What's the Alkebulan name for that? Not gonna find it. You know why you're not gonna find it? How do you even know? How do you even know how Alkebulan look in those times? Who flew the plane so far back that they was able to sketch out how Alkebulan looked? Come on, people. Do you not see that you're being played? When are you gonna wake up and realize you're being played? When? I'm gonna let this play until 4:30, and then I'm gonna call it quits because I got things to do today. You know, today's the lit day.
It became a crime to own slaves in 2007. Theoretically, the offence holds heavy punishment, but in reality, nobody has so far been sentenced. Habby and her son might have been spared from their lives as slaves, but thousands of others haven't yet been so lucky.
These ruins are all that's now left of the village of Niamlel in southern Sudan. Like many predominantly Christian villages in this area, it's been looted by Sudanese Arab militias from the Muslim north. They carry out regular raids on the Dinka tribespeople. They're supposedly freelance robbers, but the village is on the front line of the war between north and south. The Muslim government appears to turn a blind eye.
Of course you turn a blind eye when it comes to black genocide. Why would I care? The less of your people around, the more I get to run your town. Why should I care? Make that make sense. Come on, people. Wake up. Let's smell the coffee.
Family says they've been left with nothing after the Arabs carried off goats and cattle and then burned the village.
Look at that beautiful skin, man. Beautiful skin.
300 villagers were killed, mostly men. Then the women and children were rounded up.
Don't Yo, don't that sound like the book of Numbers where Joshua was ordained by your God to go scope out the area and then after plunge the village and take everything and kill everything, all the men, and even the woman that was married, you kill them too, but the only thing that you can keep are the virgins. You know, the children, the virgins, those that's going to be able to bring something to you. Oh, and the gold and all of that, that goes directly to the Lord. Now, the God that has absolutely no physical presence on the earth, meaning there's nothing that he can touch. And I'm going according to the Bible, so this is why I'm talking like this. There's nothing he can touch that's going to bring him some level of satisfaction from the world, from the earth to the heavens. But according to the scriptures, he says those golds and everything that you guys found, that belongs to me. So your God broke his very own commandments given unto you. He said, thou shalt not covetous. When you scoping out and spying out a land, what are you doing? You're covetous. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill children and shed innocent blood. But yet here you are being told to kill innocent people. And if we want to go according to the Biblos, Canaan's land is African people. right? Because according to their studies, the children of Ham are black. They are the cursed seed of Ham. So that means that the Canaans are black, which means that your God that you're trying to say is the creators of us, gave the green light for individuals to kill more black people. Right? This is right after doing what he did in Egypt. But you guys still don't see this. Let us continue. I know.
The Arabs captured Abu Kamaru, along with dozens of others. She believes they intended to sell her in the north as a slave, but let her go when they discovered she was blind. They still have her 2 children. Akai Barjok was captured in the same raid along with her 3 children. She was rescued by her husband, who undertook the dangerous journey to the north, where he found his whole family had been sold into slavery. Apin Akot paid around £100 a head for his family's freedom. It took him months to earn the money, but few people managed to make the journey north. So 4 hours walk away from the village.
So here's a man that family was taken and was literally led up north, and he had to go out his way to gain 100 shekels to set his family free. This is what comes with religion. This has nothing to do with the Alkebulan people. Islam, dub. Christianity, dub. Judaism, dub. Quran, dub. Biblos, dub. All of these things are dubs. You can go ahead and force yourself to believe it. And if you trying to indoctrinate me or have me to see, because you know, I gotta keep the glasses on because I don't want you guys to see the things that I see. That's complete BS. Okay? I'm blinded by the lies. Okay? My eyes hurt. I'm blinded by the foolishness. But again, if you was to try to convert me into seeing what you seen in your doctrine, like I say all the time, just don't say it, show it. You saying this is what it was stolen from? Provide me with this documentation. Give me at least 2 pages out of these scrolls to show that this is about us. Just 2 pages. I'm willing to just accept 2 pages. 2. Bring it forth. I'll wait for it.
New market has sprung up. Arab traders have realized that they can sell escaped slaves back to their families for 5 times the price in the north. At this market, former slaves change hands for £500, a few Kalashnikovs, or 5 cows a head. A group of 22 people wait to be sold. To get here, they've escaped from their owners and been rounded up by the Arab traders, who bring them back to the south. Until money changes hands, they won't be free.
600.
Now just imagine people coming into your space, taking you from your home, sending you to a location, and then having family members to literally come and buy you back, which proved my point about the commandments. Because according to the commandments, right, Deuteronomy 28, let me pull it up. Hold on. Let me pull it up, guys. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Because you know these Hebrews love this one. Let me pull it up. Hold on. Let's go down. It says what? And it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way thereof I speak unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. But it says no man shall buy you, but the entire slave trade, whether it's in America or here, it's about payment. So again, a prophecy that got holes in it that doesn't add up. But I'll let you let these people feed you these lies. I'll let them do it. Let's continue.
The practice has disturbed some Arab merchants.
And again, people, remember, all of this is acceptable because Allah said all non-Muslims are required to be sold and captured in the name of Allah. Like, it's okay. There's no penalty. You're not gonna go to hell. You're not gonna be judged. You're not, none of that. Matter of fact, you're fulfilling prophecy. You're doing Allah's work. When you die, you will have 7 concubines waiting for you for your discretion, so you can play with them as long as you want. That's what's in the other world waiting for you, because when you do foolish nonsense like this in the real world. But that's all I got for you today. That we'll continue. Part 2 will be next week. It's a whole lot more. So we'll continue part 2 next week. Let me see if you guys got any questions. Please provide me with the questions. Oh, you missed a lot. Black Girl Magic, you missed a lot. She said, there's so much history tampered with and so many lies. We are consistently seeking truth. You can't seek truth, my dear. You can't seek truth because there's no truth on this earth. If you tell me that there's so much history tampered with, once something is tampered with, then that means it's been tainted. It will never be its original self. Even if the story that's being told to us may seem acceptable, may seem believable, but it's tampered with. So what we need to do is stand on facts. Find the facts. Only the facts will set us free. The truth will set the people that's running the world. That's their truth. That's their story. That's his story. Us, on the other hand, me, you, the Alkebulan, we want the facts, because only the facts will set us free. This is facts. He says, should we be keeping the... Oh, you're asking if we should be keeping the commandments? You really want the answer to that? Let's see. Matter of fact, let's see what this says. No. And no. No. Remember, these commandments was things written by the enemy, given unto us to control us into the ways that they want us to be. Okay? No. Should we strive to keep the commandments? No. Should you strive to find out who your ancestors are? Yes. You following the commandments, is there going to be a penalty behind that? No. All lies. What you got to do is connect back to your ancestral roots. The goal is to find out. My job and what I'm doing at this particular moment is to expose the things that got control over us, right? I have to show black people what Islam was doing to black people. Just like I got to show black people sooner or later the story of hell, the origin of it. Just like I got to show black people what Christianity has done. I did a live titled The Orsinian Family. So this is what we're doing at this moment because, like I said, you guys are living your life off beliefs. I'm not doing the beliefs. We're here dropping facts. I'm putting the facts down. You go ahead and go look it up. From there, then it's like, all right, so then now what do we do after we get from that, right? The next phase is to deconstruct, right? Because after we expose all of what you're seeing, right, the next phase is to deconstruct. After the deconstruction, and when I say deconstruction, meaning a spiritual detox from this madness, the next goal is to do what? Find exactly who we are, right? For example, I know that my family comes from Benin/Cameroon. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go invest my time into studying those areas, but not just the artifacts and stuff like the archaeological aspect. No, I'm also going to learn about the spiritual aspect, okay? We need to know the spiritual aspect. We don't own no factories. Ain't gonna be no bombs being created by Alkebulans. Ain't gonna be no nuclears created by you. That's one thing for certain, two things for sure. You will never get your hands on that type of weaponry, okay? And the only reason why you got your hands on handguns and automatic rifles is because they know that you're gonna use it on each other. That's why. They know that you're going to use it to protect your block, your trap house, or whatever. They know you're not going to do nothing else with it. They know you're not going to stand up against the man. Please. That's why they give it to you. So learning your history, digging into that, your spirituality, learning the rituals, the dance, learning the language, learning the customs, learning the food, connecting yourself back to Alkebulan. Not every single Alkebulan person came from South Africa. Not every single Alkebulan know or called on the name Sunini Nanini. No, that's it. These are individuals who's not from the place, not from there, don't speak the language, is giving the Alkebulan people a new way of worshiping Jesus Christ and the Lord that's in the Biblos. We're not doing that. It's over for that. It's a dub. Come on now, make it make sense. You have to make that make sense. You have to make that make sense. Learn your customs, learn your traditions, learn the dance, learn the rituals, learn how to connect with the ancestors. You gotta learn. Fire, water, meditation, all of these things is a very important factor in finding out who we are. And you got to do these things, guys. So that's my answer to that. Fasting, absolutely. Meditating, absolutely. Prayer, we don't know what prayer is. Prayer came with religion. Meditation, absolutely. Connecting to the spiritual realm, absolutely. You're supposed to do that. Thank you. Rewatch it. No, it's all good. Thank you. Anytime. Each one teach one. Again, I don't say things to offend nobody. I don't say things to cause controversy. I say the things that we need to hear to uplift us as people, bro. We at the bottom, and I'm sick and tired of being at the bottom, and I'm also sick and tired of the fear tactics that these people are presenting to us into why we remain at the bottom. Oh, my brother, you got to keep the commandments, bro. If you keep the commandments, everything's going to be good. I know people that kept the commandments and still not good. I know people that kept the commandments and still and still died in pain. People still dying and suffering. I know people that did all of that, and it's still, people are still suffering. So if that's happening, and according to the Biblos, keeping it preserves you and protects you and prevents you from being killed, dying, but yet people is dying, then again, that's another reason and why you have to question it, what's being given unto you. And then you got to ask yourself, why was it given unto you? And if it was and if this is our story, this is our book, and they just changed the names and stuff, then why was it brutally forced upon the Alkebulan people? Ask about Cecil Rose and what Cecil Rose was doing to the Alkebulan people, the indigenous people, those that wouldn't conform into the British monarchy, which also is the pioneers for the Biblos. You got to make that make sense. Why was Cecil Rose doing such heinous things to the indigenous people of South Africa? And when I speak to the South Africans, they say, yo, they brutally force Judaism, the Biblos, upon the people. Brutally. Listen carefully. They say brutally. That means it wasn't given unto you free 99. Okay? So, with that being said, people, there's any more questions? There's none. If you want more understanding, please follow me on all social media platforms. We close to 27K on Instagram. We damn near 13,000 on TikTok. And we're not even going to talk about the YouTube. YouTube, it look like we about to hit 130,000 subscribers. If not this week, next month. But we working, we outside, we're teaching, we uplifting, we redirecting our path. Our path is to pure, true Alkebulan righteousness according to the Alkebulan people. We're not subscribing to anything Abrahamic anymore. It's over for that. When you hear the word Abraham, you need to run. I hear the word Abraham Lincoln, I'm running. It's over for that. Just leave it. Just leave it there. And those that wanna stand on that, by all means, stand over there. Stand over there. Tell me how it feels when you realize that you wasted years of your life trying to follow something, and the only people that benefited off this madness was the ones that bought the ideology to you. And with that being said, people, it's your brother man from the motherland, came to you guys live. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, send this to your friends and family. This is part 1. Part 2 will be tomorrow. Well, I said tomorrow. Will be next week. So stay tuned. It's your brother man. You understand? And I'ma holla. One.